for your Baba daily update TV no so na message and bacha na iso no hit adomana mame se me drop any latest news bi etwagu a oso obenya bi na otie na ya bora ensem ni ma yes and no the bad governance you see itime koso the NPP failure ama sisi kura de eye mentime ho ase esi election abato in parliamentary side na kopimu Supreme Court so de ne verdict aba say your constituencies ni bo ha regulation entime nkoso no Sophia Akufo akasa ejem say the bad governance of NPP no and the results of all this no aba na me pese ye bowram na yetie ensem ni bi a abetodwa ye ba de ka ho no me de amusem na bebro
say that again now that Akufo Addo is leaving it's time for Akufo to come out.
Akufo granted bail and yet
it's you know my boggling.
Gregory Akufo
Gregory
wait see the current attorney general
when the new attorney general comes, I mean, we expect that he will not oppose an application for bail for Gregory Akufo.
I can assure you that in fact he will make the application.
He will make the application. Yes, like the way Godfrey Dami once appealed for somebody.
Let's be cautious in making these assurances. Let's see how the coming days will look.
Oh no, Akufo has to come.
Yes, but you are saying that you are saying that you know for sure.
I want to assure him that Akufo will be granted his freedom based on the terms of the bill.
Granted.
Yes,
let's
been
wait.
Granted bail, and yet somebody is refusing to allow him to.
When they tell you Akufo Addo doesn't forgive,
it's interim freedom.
When they tell you Akufo Addo doesn't forgive, that's one of the ways. He's been punishing the senior Afoko for this. What do you call it? This matter that happened. So it's like because he has a beef with Afoko, former chairman of the NPP, then his brother should suffer for it. That's just what this thing has been. Akufo Addo.
Your first
court did a good job saying that upon application for joinder, the court ought to have allowed them to come.
The court ought to have allowed at least the NDC to have a hearing.
I was in the case in the Supreme Court against Attorney General. There was an interested party who applied to join. I was initially opposed to the application, but upon reflection...
I was in court with you that
Yes, upon reflection, I thought that...
You withdrew your...
It was the first time that I was seeing a case where the law specifically says that Attorney General will be the defendant in a matter like that. But the Supreme Court thought it necessary to allow the joiner application to stay. And the Supreme Court actually granted it. And at the time, I was not too happy with it, but upon reflection, I realized that they went behind the law to find the interest and also bring the interest in it. And you do it this way, and you retire all criticisms after the results are announced. So I commend the Supreme Court for the direction given now, and also for all of us as practicing lawyers to appreciate that if you want to do something that somebody's interest comes into conflict thereof, you ought to consider that interest and bring that person to court, even as a party, so that that person can be heard. And this law on audio utterance pattern is very universal, and you try to avoid it, or you try to navigate around it, they will bring you back into it and say, please respond to that. God, in His wisdom, even when Adam and Eve were alleged to have eaten some fruit, knowing that they had ate those fruits, God still gave them opportunity to respond to the allegation of them eating. And this is the beginning of that law, audio utterance pattern.
So even God respects the law of natural justice.
The law of natural justice, as Adam and Eve. But unfortunately, when he got to the serpent, God did not ask him why he also confused them and just started pronouncing judgment. So in that case, the law of audio utterance pattern was not applied to the serpent.
In the case of the serpent.
And that is the point, the beginning of appeal. So the serpent ought to have appealed against that decision based on the failure of audio utterance pattern. And I believe that if the Supreme Court has sat on that, the Supreme Court would have ruled that
God should have heard the serpent side of the story.
God should have heard the serpent side. But You see, law comes from Ecclesiastes. So the roll out of all these ecclesiastical events give us the foundations of law.
Thank you very much for this very interesting preliminary comment from you on this matter. But because you are, I would say, an interested party, for the lack of better expression, in this case, because you served as legal aid to Ebi Bright, the Tema Central Parliamentary candidate for the NDC, who was earlier.
Council.
Yes.
Yes. Interested party. So the NDC.
Who was earlier declared as MP elect.
Yes.
And then last Saturday, we saw the Electoral Commission do a recollation and then declare the NPP candidate there, that's Charles Forson, as MP elect. What is the full consequential effect of what happened yesterday, apart from caution the Electoral Commission's declaration on Saturday? What's the full consequential effect of what we saw?
Okay, the effect simply is that the declaration announced by the EC on the 9th of December stands.
That Ebi Bright is MP elect?
That's right. It stands.
But the Mandemus application is still alive and active?
The Mandemus application, I have a copy here. So thankfully we can look at it. Now, if you read affidavit in support of Charles Forson's Mandemus application to the court, and it's an ex parte application, it says essentially that there was no collation in Tema Central, which is a big lie. In fact, he went to court to perjure himself. Now, he did this. First, he wrote to the Electoral Commission in his capacity as a parliamentary candidate, and he narrated these facts. This letter is dated, interesting, he didn't date his letter to the EC, but this is a copy attached to his application to the court.
Right, we have a soft copy, we'll put that on the screen.
Yes, now, he says, I wish to bring to your attention the following infractions, incidents, and occurrences during the collation stages of the process. 1. Collation of the pink sheets began at about 11 p.m. with the presidential and ran smoothly. However, when the exercise was completed at about 4 a.m. on Sunday, the NDC side asked for recollation as they have a different total of which the EC obliged. The recollation of the presidential pink sheets were done at around 9 a.m. Sunday. At around 9:30 a.m., all parties agreed for the kickstart of the parliamentary collation. Before the process could begin, thugs from the NDC broke into the center and disrupted the whole program. This is also another fabrication.
Right.
Now, if you get to his point 10, he said the collation process was halted when the NDC tried forcing the EC to declare their candidate as the winner, despite having 2 polling stations pink sheets remaining. This is also another fabrication. Now, in his affidavit to the court, filed on 17th December 2024, he says the following, as part of, it deposed to a long set of facts, but let me quote the essential parts. Paragraph 7, that in accordance with respondents' constitutional mandate, parliamentary elections were conducted on December 7, 2024, in the 276 constituencies across the nation, including the Tema Central constituency of the Greater Accra region. That polls were successfully conducted in all the 148 polling stations of the Tema Central constituency, and results were announced and declared in all the polling stations, and same were forwarded to the returning officer. That in accordance with law, collation of election results commenced on 8th December 2024 at the Constituency Collation Center. It's also another falsity, because collation began immediately the polling station elections were concluded. And results announced at the polling stations and pink sheets transmitted to the collation center at Chemu on the 9th of the 7th. So collation didn't start on the 8th, as he claimed in the affidavit.
I see.
Then, that while collation was ongoing, some young men and thugs entered the collation center engaging in various acts of violence and threats which disrupted the collation process. Then he says 16, that I'm advised by counsel and believe same to be true that only the returning officer by law can collate, announce results, and declare winners. Yet, at the Tema Central Collation Center, it was the Metro Director that did the collation. Now, paragraph 14 says, following the events narrated above, the collation was moved to the Regional Collation Center on 9 December 2024 for collation to continue. That after a few days, I was informed by the respondent to report at the police training school, Ténsịon in Accra, with the collation of the results, but I was later informed by the respondent that the collation could not continue. Now, paragraph 17 says that no collation has been done in the Tema Central constituency as required by law. This is also another falsity. Because in Tema Central, we actually did collation, like his letter to the EC narrated. When we began the collation on the 9th of the 7th, when polls closed and results were announced at the respective polling stations, pink sheets were transmitted for collation to comments at Chemu. He brought people to disrupt the process because they are lost. And to the extent that the police had to throw in tear gas to bring the ensuing melee under control. That was when the decision was taken by the police that collation, continuation of the collation be moved to their premises at the Tema Regional Police Command. As I had earlier indicated, the circumstances under which the pink sheets, the ballot boxes were transmitted or moved from the Chemu Collation Center to the Police Regional Administration in Tema was something that we objected to because we don't know who followed those ballot boxes. Now, when we got to the Tema...
Was it the one that they were going to use a private vehicle instead of the Electoral Commission's official vehicle?
Exactly, and I'll tell you, when we got to Tema Regional Police Command premises to continue with the collation, we discovered that, for instance, one pink sheet we couldn't find. We couldn't find it. That's a parliamentary pink sheet. Ofosu Hini had to go back to the office to go and bring that particular pink sheet. What was the pink sheet doing in the office of Ofosu Hini? Because pink sheets are supposed to be put together, put in a ballot box, sealed, before you transmit. It was one of the issues that we took against him. We also insisted that he is not the designated returning officer for Tema Central. So he should allow the accredited officer, who is Mr. Akufo Addo, as the returning officer pursuant to Regulation 2.3 of CI 127 to do his duty under law. He will not permit him.
So who is the person who did this declaration? What we are showing on the TV now, who is this?
This is the returning officer from Tema West. And if you recall the petition from Ofosu Hini to his principals in Greater Accra, he said that he directed this chap to do the declaration because he did so under duress. As for the issue under duress, I will come to that. Now, after the collation, we objected to the admission of 2 pink sheets. We objected because they were fabricated pink sheets. Fabricated in the sense that the contents on the original were markedly different from the contents on the duplicates we were given. This was the source of the discord. NPP came with Titus Glover, regional minister, came with other office, came with their constituency chairperson, Charles Boateng. The candidate himself was there, Charles Forsen, and a host of others that I'm not able to tell their positions.
Right.
So when they keep saying NDC came there with national officers, they also came with national officers, including the sitting regional minister. That they had issue with the Titus Glover, that go to your office, you have work to do, don't come and sit here and waste your precious time. We had that banter, but it was a friendly banter.
Right.
But they keep they keep refusing point to that fact that they also came with officials from the party. Now, so we disagreed to those two pink sheets. Why? Because I discovered that they were written ex post facto the declaration of polling station results. So Ofosuhini was compelled to invite these two presiding officers. They came to admit that yes, oh, indeed, when we close, one said, oh, when we close, we were under pressure. So it was when I got to the office that I was reminded to complete the pink sheets. Because the duplicate that they gave to me contained no name, no signature, no year of elections held, and no time of close of elections, as required by a law, Regulation 39, Sub-Regulation 3 of CI 127.
It was only the results that were...
It was only the results, and the figures were different. You understand?
And there was no signature of the returning officer?
No, but on the original that they wanted us to adopt or agree to, had all these details. So we said, nada, it won't go in. The second one had similar infraction. Again, that presiding officer was also invited. And mind you, it was Ofosuhini who was calling these presiding officers to the collation table. He also came to admit that, yes, it was Ofosuhini who asked him to complete the pink sheet in the office. All these facts he has refused to disclose. And they are captured on video at the collation center at Tema Regional Police Command.
I see.
So we said, and these two pink sheets favored the NPP candidate. So how do I, me as a lawyer, I should allow you to smuggle in a material that will hurt the interest of my candidate? Then what sort of lawyer am I? So I said, never, even if we take it to the Supreme Court, never would these two pink sheets make it. Because we had issues with 18 pink sheets. 18. Some were, calculation, miscalculation. No, we allowed them to regularize all those. These are facts he has refused to disclose so far. But
Medamase so, some Bre, our daily update TV so.